Revolution will not be televised. It will be streamed. Wicka, 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 the remix, where the guests become the hosts and the hosts become the guests. I am Tisha Dixon Williams, super excited to be here with you today and here with the amazing, dynamic, game-changing tour de force that is Dr. Ricky Allmon and Reverend Stephen Thurston, as well as my amazing co-host and brother beloved, very quickly, Gary Foster. We're happy to have all of you here today. How's everybody this morning?
Well,
everybody's good?
Yeah.
All is good.
Good. I'm great. I'm glad. Gary, we're moving quickly this morning. Who is this for?
Thank you, Tisha. This is for pastors, entrepreneurs, consultants, digital content creators, social media influencers, and educators. It's for people who want to maximize their potential, mobilize their purpose, productivity. We want to help you get from where you are to where you want to be in every facet of your life. So if that is you, we already know why you're here. But it's not enough just for you to get it for yourself. We want your entire team to be strong. So we want you to invite somebody to join this group, to join this conversation now.
You got that thing down. I like the way you do that. You do that very, very well.
You just got to watch Stephen, you know what I'm saying?
That's it. You got to watch the experts. We're learning, and we're learning very quickly. So when last we met, we were talking about a pivot, and toward the end of the conversation, we pivoted into another topic where we began to talk about a topic some would think controversial, some don't know what it is, but we're going to give it a definition today. It's a word called adultism. Everybody say adultism. Do it like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Every time you hear adultism, ah! You got to scream. So the act of adultism is nothing new. As a matter of fact, if we were to take a survey of all of us here, all of you who are watching, we all have experienced adultism at one time or another in professional, personal spaces, in church spaces. And so our topic today is adultism. You ain't grown. Has anybody ever heard that? Certainly in our culture, we've heard that phrase, you ain't grown. So we've all been the victims of adultism. So let me give you a really simple, easy example of what adultism is. Adultism is you are an adult, you believe you're grown, but you go home for a holiday, you go home to visit the fam, you go home to visit your elders, you do something, you say something, and they're like, hold on, wait a minute, don't forget where you are. You ain't grown, you can't talk like that, you can't do that, you can't say. That's a really easy example of what adultism is. But let me give you a more formal definition. So my job here today is just to teach, and Gary's then going to take it away to everything else. But I want to educate you guys on what adultism is. So according to the book of Adam Fletcher, Facing Adultism, here's the definition. Adultism is favoring adults by dismissing young people. That's it in a nutshell. It's also the addiction to the attitudes, ideas, belief, and actions of adults. Adultism is biased toward adults. And because adultism is biased toward adults, it inherently and obviously leads to the discrimination against children and youth. That's adultism in a nutshell. So if you don't know, now you know. Here's the problem with adultism. It creates dynamics in which youth are oppressed and their experiences are dismissed. The other challenge is it forces us to push low expectations on young people, thereby making them feel like they're not capable of doing much. Adultism is embedded in our policies, our procedures, our operations, our cultures, and our organizations, and certainly needs to be eradicated. So I just want to touch base really quickly on three important areas where we see the detrimental effects of adultism. Where it happens, why it happens, and what it does. Where adultism happens. So first of all, adultism happens everywhere. And sometimes it happens rather covertly. We don't even know that we're engaging in adultism most of the time. But the behaviors that we engage in are in fact adultism. So it's how our society is organized by assuming children and youth don't have anything of substance or value to add, mostly in our social activities and in our organizations. And by doing so, here's what happens. Here's the detriment. You ready? Adults keep their power intact. And that's really the strategy of adultism. Adults want to keep their power intact. They don't want to lose whatever feigned power they think they have by deferring to young people. It happens in government, it happens in education, it happens in social services, it happens in religious communities, hello, and it happens in families. It happens right in the home, and that doesn't have to be parent to child. That could also be siblings, right? The oldest child, sorry, Ricky, to the youngest child. Once the older child gets old, maybe they think they're
Hey,
grown.
watch it now. You got two old eldest children here on this
I
top
know, I
row.
know,
Watch
I
it.
know, I know. But
You're
I'm a
walking
baby,
on
so
thin ice. The ice
yeah,
getting
yeah.
thin.
I'm the baby of the family, so I understand the effects, the detrimental effects of adultism and the
Wow.
sibling relationship.
Stephen, this is turning on us very quickly.
This sounds like a transference issue. Tish, you need a therapist? I
No,
can
thank you. See, that's adultism.
Wait,
That's it
hold
right there. That's it right. Come on, Gary. That's it right there. That's a
it's on and
classic
popping on this
of
Saturday morning.
adultism, where my opinions and my experience are not valid because I'm the young one. There we go. So adultism happens in government, education, social services. But here's the problem when that happens. Adultism affects program outcomes. So you wonder why your programs are not effective. Maybe you're engaging in adultism. Second, why adultism happens. Adultism happens because adults think there's no value to it. Adults believe that adults know everything. That's pretty much it. And that the young people are not capable of knowing what they know. But the problem with that is, and in doing that as an adult, you actually begin to act like children. The very children that you're condemning, you actually begin to adopt childlike behaviors. That's
again,
when
Tisha.
adultism becomes a problem. Here's the effect of that.
Wait, rewind on that one point.
Say it again.
Okay, so here's the problem with adultism. When we think that children don't know as much as adults, adults actually become childlike. We become the very children that we're trying to take power from. It's a very
so are you
immature
saying they
act.
can become petty?
Oh, for sure. Petty LaBelle, all the way.
Wow.
Petty Pendergrass.
Petty Pendergrass.
Wow.
Petty Riley, all of it. They get just petty. Adults in their effort to keep the power intact and take power from children actually become childlike. That's what children do. Children don't want people to have what they want. Is that right? Is that fair to say? Children don't like to share. And adultism is when we don't like to share the power or the wisdom or the knowledge that we have. And here's what happens when you do that. Not only does it affect program outcomes, it affects program funding. Why should I give to the adults' ideas? I should be giving to the children's ideas. So lastly, what adultism does. It's damaging, it's detrimental. It ignores, it silences, it neglects, it punishes children and youth simply because they're not adults for no other reason other than they have not passed the age of 18. That's pretty unfair. Every young person experiences adultism from the day they're born until the world decides that they're going to recognize them as adults. So every adult in society at some point in your life, you've experienced adultism, whether you had a name for it or not, whether you were able to define it or not. And because it's unconscious and we share this, because we share these experiences, we perpetuate adultism without even knowing it. And in some cases, young people then mirror, Pastor Thurston, that behavior, and then they perpetuate adultism. And so what happens? It becomes a vicious cycle. Here's why the outcome of that is severe. Where youth are treated as weak and helpless and less intelligent, they then begin to behave as though they're weak and helpless and less intelligent. And adultism also often makes verbal, physical, and emotional abuse toward young people seem like it's okay. That's a big problem. And so what happens is adultism can make other negative opinions about people seem okay, so that young people see racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, and other forms of discrimination as being okay because they were discriminated against. It makes it seem like it's okay for them to discriminate against others. Here's the truth. I'm going to wrap this up in a nice, neat bow. Here's how I see it. Adultism is the gateway drug that leads to the addiction of all the other isms that plague our world today. What do I mean by that? When we talk about a gateway drug, let's say marijuana. Some people would say marijuana is a drug. Some people, I'm not saying, I'm just using it as an example. Some people say it could be a gateway drug to more damaging drugs, right? Just saying that it's an easy drug. And what happens is it leads into heavier addictions. When we engage in adultism, some could say it's the gateway-ism that leads to all the other isms that make the other isms.
The views shared on this platform are those of the individuals and not that of the revolution. Will not be televised. It will be straight. Thank you very much.
Well, let me say this. For some people, gateway drugs may never be a problem. But for other people, the dangers of a gateway drugs can't be understated.
So,
and
Tisha,
so for some young
on.
people.
Let me ask you a question, because you have loaded us.
Yes.
So
I'm sorry.
I gotta slow jam this. Jam this.
Let's talk about it.
Because with all that we now understand about adultism, it's actually much more subtle and it can become undetectable.
Yes.
Because people inherently do it. And something, I was thinking about this last night. So Gary is here. He's our millennial poster man. He's 30 years old now, so he can't be the poster boy. He's the poster man. But his generation has to be careful that because my generation took so long in making room for them, that they don't finally get to the space and place where they rightfully belong and repeat the cycle that happened to them by saying, now that I'm here, so I really don't have time to spend developing the person coming behind me, because now I've got to make up for the time that I'm supposed to be giving to developing the ideas and concepts that's in front of me.
Right.
So I think we really, if we're going to explore this, we've got to look at it. And this is one of those rare moments that I do something that I don't like doing, and that's compartmentalizing. I despise compartmentalizing, because I feel like we end up putting the responsibility on something or somebody that it really doesn't belong to, because life is continuous. So, but I think in this case, we have to do some generational compartmentalization and really ask ourselves, how responsible is our generation for the generation behind us? And how often do we deliberately pay it forward? So here's the question I pose to you three. You don't have to answer it out loud, but I just want to color the conversation with this. How many individuals do you have connected to your life that you're intentional about pouring into who are half your age? So for Gary, that's a 15-year-old. For Tish, no comment. For Stephen, you get what I'm saying? So how and that's very deliberate. If we're not doing that, guess what? We're guilty of adultism.
Absolutely.
That's how subtle it is. Now, here's the reality. If you look at any of us and our track record, it wouldn't appear that we're guilty of it, because we work across generations. We engage whoever we come in contact with. We are driven to empower others and to help them to maximize whatever their God-given talents and abilities are, and to cultivate things that may not be God-given, but that may be assets to them accomplishing their purpose. But even with that, because we are exposed and have the propensity and tendency to repeat the cycles unconsciously that we've seen around us, then we become the very thing that we hate. So the victim becomes the perpetrator. My question to you, Tish, and then to Gary, is how do we make this pivot? That's the critical word here. Because with where we stand in culture, in society, in our world today, we need whoever is, I don't even like using the word behind us, but we need whoever's coming alongside us to help us to navigate what's in front of us. And so this is very critical, because if we don't deal with it, we're hypocrites on this show today. If we don't deal with this.
I think the first thing is knowledge is power. I think now that we've identified exactly what it is, we can do a better job at stopping the behavior. But I think one thing that we have to also be mindful of, if I take an assessment of my life, I can be honest and say that I'm adultist in some areas of my life and not in others. I do not exercise an adultism when it comes to things professional or preaching. There are people who are under me that I choose to mentor, walk alongside, all of those things, and I'm open to reverse mentoring as well. But when I look at my nieces and nephews and my family, I have to admit, my name is Tish and I'm an adultist.
Wow. Wait, so
I'll be honest and say that.
So I would think that would be the place you were the least of that. But you're
Yeah,
actually
no.
admitting that when it comes to them, you want them to know who Auntie Tish is.
Yeah, and
Why?
and not necessarily from a negative
I
perspective.
get
Like
it. But
Tia
why
is
the
important to
ambiguity?
them. Don't know. Tia is important to them. That's what I know. But I need them to know who Tia is, not necessarily from a position of authority, but as a resource.
It sounds like authority to me.
I always want them to be able to come to me with things maybe they don't feel like they can come to their parents with. I always want to be a safe space. And I think that's where my adultism comes in. Like, I'm the safe space because I'm the older one. And I'm not saying this is healthy. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying I'm aware.
I understand.
Yeah.
Gary.
All right.
We have clearly defined adultism. And so this is where I think some of your questions will get answered, Ricky, so I'm here just to teach about what it is, but Gary's really here to talk about what it looks like in practice. So it's on you, Gary.
All right. Let me jump in here then. As Dr. Allmon said, I am the poster child, poster man, if you will,
Sounds like
of
a
adultism.
superhero. The poster.
Right. You know, and the beauty of it is I've experienced both sides of this, right? And even now hearing the conversation that we started, I guess even more so have even participated because as the oldest, you know, I think more so maybe with my cousins and things like that, I may have exercised that. But I think for me, I've experienced positive mentorship. I've experienced sponsorship, those who have, you know, saw my talents. Like an undergrad, I had the blessed experience from actually having a staff position with the college while in school. I
What
was
school was that, if I may ask?
It is the great illustrious Morehouse College. You asked, you know, I was chilling, you know.
You all are in the majority. The Morehouse men are, you know.
Steven, I was chilling, you know.
I know it, man. It's his insecurities about not being, you know, in the ATL. That's all.
Hey, but look,
some isms going on around here.
It's all HBCU love, though. It's all HBCU love. Yeah, all day. So I got to be the web assistant for the college and helping them like elevate their website and things like that. And it was a very empowering experience for me. It allowed me to really cultivate some of the gifts that I'm using and utilizing today. Also, when I moved back to Chicago, one of my jobs, I was working there. I started literally at the bottom of the company, and within 3 months, maybe within 6 months, I was promoted 3 times, and I was the youngest to be promoted within the company, and then became the youngest manager in the company, and then the youngest assistant or associate director in the company. And then because they put the support around me and entrusted me, my department was one of the most successful departments in the entire company. So I've had that side of it. But then I've also had the other side of, well, you're not really old enough. Well, what all do you really know? Or especially, so like, for example, in the church, we like to categorize youth or young adults as 0 to 35.
Watch it.
So when do you become a real adult? At 36? I'm just wondering, am I 6 years off? I just, you know,
Gary, stay there a minute. Please stay there a minute. Like, because so here is my angst when it comes to the faith community, what we call the church, and more specifically looking at the hue of our melanin, the Black church. Why is it that even though the elephant in the room, most churches were started on the backs of two demographics, women and young people. And especially if you're dealing with a church in its infancy, right?
Yep.
But what happens when that group of young people come of age and come to a place where it seems like they get amnesia about how they developed, how they became proficient in whatever they do, and now they feel like they hold the rights on whatever the roles are, the responsibilities are, on the positions, on leadership, and they completely abandon the generations behind them, while at the same time saying, well, Lord, we're praying that young people will come to you and accept ministry and do all of these things. Why is there such a hypocrisy and ambiguity there? And as you, yes, sir, Stephen, talk to me, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Because a lot of them have not accomplished anything in life. And so the church is the place where they get title and position and power.
Bye, y'all. I'm gone.
No, he's right. He's right. Especially the one who has all the keys. He who has the most keys holds the power.
Stephen, say it one more time, please.
They have not accomplished anything in life, anything of substance, anything of notoriety. So the church is the only platform that they get where they can shine and
absolutely
pretentious presentation of power. And so they hold on to it, and then we have to pry that baton out of their hand when they're laying in the casket.
Stephen is right, because you could be the lowest man on the totem pole at your corporate job, but when you come to church, if you got all the keys to the building, you somebody.
Yeah.
You serving communion on Sunday, you're somebody. Church has always been that place that's given people validation. And when you don't have it in any other area of your life, that is very hard to let go of.
I have often said church is the only place where you could be absolutely unequivocally nothing in every other area of your life and appear to be everything.
Correct.
I'll never forget, I went to speak in a conference on the West Coast, is as far as I'll go with the region. I went to speak in a conference on the West Coast. And it was my first time for this particular assignment. And we pull up to the venue, to the host church. Quite an impressive campus. And a gentleman meets us. And to Tisha's illustration, he's got the keys. Huge batch of, he's got a key ring that should open up the gates to heaven. I got the keys, right? So he's very congenial. We go in and we're sitting around. I'm waiting for the pastor of this host church. And so we sit there a little while. Finally, I say to the person who brought me in, I said, it's almost 30 minutes before service time. When am I going to meet the pastor? He said, you met him when you walked in. I said, but that was the facilities manager. He said it was. He said the pastor died and the church voted the facilities manager in because they say he's here all the time. I'm not making this up.
He who holds the keys holds the most power.
So again, you can have absolutely no significance to anybody in any other area of your life, and in church culture appear to be everything. And to Gary's point, I think that's why they hold on to it so long, even though somebody made a way and created an opportunity for them.
Yeah.
In the nonprofit space, in the social justice space, when my time working at Rainbow Push, like when y'all started doing this, y'all were in college.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's going to carry on the legacy? Now all of y'all are dying off, or got arthritis and can't, other issues. So who's going to carry and speak our voice? Who you could have trained and properly positioned and taught the nuances of how to navigate these different spaces, juxtaposed to some of the organizations that are now kind of grassroots, but they kind of running rampant because they've got no structure, no organization. They don't know how to have conversations about policy. And so we end up taking steps backward as a community because that older generation did not properly position and pivot. Back to you, Gary.
Wait, hold on. You don't open up Pandora's box. Because, Stephen, their argument to your inquiry is, well, Stephen, the reason why we're not giving credence and credibility to these millennials and mosaics that are leading these movements is because there was no us before us. And now that there's a us, even though we're the diminished us, we're still us. And you all need us in order to be you. There is no way that you all could have the capacity to be us without us.
Let me ask a question, Gary. I want your perspective specifically on this. So I'm of the mind, so when you have a team, right? Mm-hmm. The team always wants the best person in the game so that you might have the best chances to win. Is that right? I'm not going to put a scrub in when the game is on the line. So Gary, my question to you is, by exercising this adultism, do we really want the church to win? We really want our organizations to win if we're not putting
So we want ourselves to win.
Whoa, hold on.
It's not, we don't want the team to win. We want the record for ourselves.
Self-preservation.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like you said, you want to give the ball to the best person. Pass the ball to Kobe, okay? So it's like what happens is, and I've found this as far as professionally, I run into it a lot with boomers. And so we're talking about the generation differences here. But boomers were such a privileged generation because they were the larger, they were the bullies, they were the big group. Nobody could, outdo them. Nobody could, it was too many of them. However, what's being threatened is there's a larger group that has presented themselves, and they are millennials.
That's a fact.
And you can't outbully us because we're bigger than you.
Yeah.
And it's not a competition though, but you're making it one.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the problem is you're getting older and the seasons are changing. Mm-hmm. And it's time to pass the ball to the best player on the floor.
Right.
But it's not diminishing who you are. It's just saying, okay, well, maybe your season has transitioned to being a coach.
Right.
Maybe you're supposed to be Phil Jackson, okay, and be the greatest coach that ever did it. Okay?
Right.
However, it's Kobe's time. All right.
Right.
You got to give him the ball. So it's like, so for me, I have a message. I have two messages, and I'll get through it quickly. One is to boomers, and one is to millennials. All right. So this is what I have to say today, and then I'm backing out slowly.
Oh no,
and
no
y'all can do whatever you want to do. Okay.
So.
Oh wait, I got it. I need it. Okay.
So to the boomers, we'll start there first. All right. Fear not, we're here to help. That's number one. All right. Fear not, we're here to help.
You have to put that churchy language on her. Fear not.
Listen. Fear not. Fear not. Okay. All right. I got to speak in the colloquial. Okay. Fear not. We are here to extend your years. Understand that. We are here to extend your years. Do not fear extinction, but embrace expansion. If you embrace us, you will reach expansion because the team will win. That's what we're talking about here. All right. We do not know everything, but we do see the new world that is coming, the new world that is currently making you very anxious. Okay. So we want you to be our Obi-Wan Kenobi and help us.
You're our only hope.
Help us to not hit the same potholes that you did so that we can actually get farther. and be open to new possibilities. That's my message to boomers. All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a competition. We fear not.
I love it.
All right. Y'all ready? All right. So to my peeps, my millennials, everybody that's watching us a millennial, this is for you. I want you to know that your purpose is not found in what you do. Okay. That's how you express your purpose. But your purpose is found within. Purpose comes from the creator, and we should be in the pursuit of purpose. So I know it's frustrating, and when you're experiencing this level of adultism, but don't spend so much time being angry with those who are trying to dim your light, because at the end of the day, they can't take your mind. They don't own you. You're a part of something way bigger. So at the end of the day, shout out to everybody that's sleeping on me, acting narcoleptic. That's fine. Stay asleep. It's okay, because your greatness is not contingent upon likes. It's not contingent upon followers. It's not contingent upon views, applause, or boos. There is a light that is within you, that is a power that God gave you specifically. Okay. So my challenge to you moving forward, starting tomorrow, and I've said this before, not necessarily here, but I want you to hear it, all who are watching. Don't just have a great day, but use your power, walk in your light, and create a great day. Create daily, okay? Because God will take care of the rest. Just work in your light, and God will take care of the rest. He will make your name great as you draw people to him. So shine bright like a diamond and reflect the light. That's all you need to do. Work on your craft, work in purpose, and let God handle all the rest. So don't get frustrated, because your season will come. I definitely can say that it can be frustrating when you are experiencing, like, I'm 30 years old. When will I become an adult in your eyes? At the end of the day, that's not my concern, because you're not in control, real talk. So I'm going to just do what God has asked me to do and walk in the light as he is the light, and we'll go from there. So that's my spiel.
Gary, that was phenomenal.
That was great, sir.
That was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. So I
that
think
needs to be an open letter, Gary. That needs
absolutely
to be an editorial. I'm serious.
Absolutely.
Yes,
that was phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for being a voice, a good voice of your generation, a strong voice, an informed voice, and a concerned voice. That makes all the difference. Like, you're not just blowing smoke, you actually care about the collaboration.
Yep.
And that's appreciative, really appreciative. So I think in a nutshell, Gary kind of summed it all up, but I think what we've learned today, we've learned the definition of adultism. Hey. We've learned that adultism makes us susceptible, or makes our young people susceptible to all of the other isms. And we've learned that there are those who are living in an Ed Bundy world. Is that who that was? Married with Children, the husband. And I didn't watch the show much, but the one thing I know is he constantly relived, I think, that one touchdown that he had in high school. He kept reliving the glory days and couldn't get past it. And meanwhile, most of the time, what he was doing with his adult life was sitting on the couch scratching. But he kept reliving that glory day, though. That one day made his whole life. But we can't afford to live in that space. We've got to move on so that our organizations might grow, so that our churches might grow, and that hopefully some of them will grow, most of them will grow at the helm and with the help of our young people. And
let's let them die, and we just start fresh. We don't have to deal with the dumb
well,
stuff.
until we get this age range right, wait a minute, hold on. Until we get this age range right, let's not put that into motion, because that means we might go too. I'm not quite ready.
No, here's what I believe.
No, I meant the organization. Let the organizations.
Oh,
die.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would.
But here's what I believe. I believe you're only as relevant as those that you're bringing with you.
Agreed.
That's your life insurance right there. Is to surround yourself with those who can see, because we've done bad math. Just because you've lived longer doesn't mean you see farther.
Yes.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, if there's more behind you than in front of you, then I don't need you taking me anywhere.
Yeah.
Because the only place you probably can take me is back into what you've come from, because that's what you're familiar with.
Correct.
So you on
Absolutely.
repeat. You're doing
Yeah.
encores when I'm trying to evolve.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
But
think that's what's very critical right now.
Yeah.
We don't just want to pontificate, we want to participate. And I
Right.
think we're at a point that even with us, again, I come back to us four, whatever we're doing right now in our lives, we need to be deliberate. I mean, even with this platform, Stephen and I, midway through it, brought on a brilliant young man, Marcus Jackson. And we're going to bring him back on with some friends of his, as well as young women, because it's imperative for us. I mean, we're still evolving, we're still growing. We may be turning this platform over next year, to somebody, and we're going on to something else. So we're not looking to stay here. We're not trying to do monuments. We're doing movements. This platform will inevitably, in short order, become something else that doesn't look anything like this. And that was our intention when we started, because we understand who we are and we understand what we have to give to the generations coming behind us. So I think we need to be very deliberate about that. And so, Stephen, I'm going to come to you on this, and then we'll volley back to our host. How can we practically right now? We see what's happening with social activism, social engagement. We see that it's younger, more creative minds that are leading the charge, that are getting us in what John Lewis called good trouble. How can we make sure that we're driving that and that we're informing what they're doing with the policies, helping them to develop their character so that they can sustain the momentum that they have?
Sure. Discipleship is an outgrowth of relationship. So there has to be the relationship that's built and formed, that trust level is enhanced, and that gives us entree to lead and guide, direct, form, shape, shift, all of those things. We are at the same time take our resources and put those resources behind them without a request for something in return. We don't get into what the church got into with this mother, father, daughter BS.
Oh God.
And we just genuinely encourage and find ways to platform them, find ways to encourage them. A pastor hit me the other day about something, the need that he had, and Gary immediately came to mind. Let me put this on to a young person, see if he's available to do this. So we just find opportunities to put them in play to enhance what they do.
Right. And you just said something. I so have a problem with this. That's my daughter. That's my son. Like, no, it's not. They have parents.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's this appropriation of.
It's sick.
Like, yeah, it's pedophilic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some issues. So Tisha, is back to you.
So I kind of have I have a quick question, because Gary, you brought something up. You said maybe your job now is to be a coach. How do we better help people know when their season to be a player has transitioned, but that they now need to transition into being a coach? This is for all of you, more specifically Ricky and Stephen, but what can we do better to let people know it's coaching time? When that their season, I mean, this idea that your season only exists in one space is ridiculous. You would think that leaders would constantly want to be evolving, that they would want to get to the next level, that this is only, I think it's Frank Thomas that talks about the whole arc of his career, and how pastoring, while it was great, was not his final destination. He always wanted to teach. And so someone who was sitting pretty, right, in the pastoral role and could have done that forever, made a calculated risk, came out of it to do what he really loved to do. How can we develop more sort of Frank Thomases in this world, to know when it is time?
Something you see in college sports. Something you see in college sports is called player coaches. You don't see it as much in professional sports, but I think it needs to be across the board, because I think the best coach are the players. Somebody that's still in the game, who's contemporary to the process, but yet has the bandwidth of experience and exposure to be able to share in real time with those that are new to the game. So I feel like for my generation, which three of us are a part of, we have the responsibility to Gary's generation and the generation after his to say, listen, we still on the court with you, but we not trying to take your shine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna alley oop you the ball. Now we need you to know what our strengths are too, and make sure that you use your strengths to play up our strengths. So I think what's so critical right now is that we don't get into either or, that everything is and also.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to stay fluid. We've got to understand this is a continuum. All the rules have changed. And if we're honest, there really are no rules right now. The only rule that matters is humanity, is civility, is respect. That's all that matters. Outside of that, when it comes to the rules of the game of business, when it comes to how we engage people in what we call our faith communities and church, everything is on the table. And so now it's really going to happen through relationship. And as Stephen said, you won't have discipleship without relationship. It's impossible, because how can you expect to have an impact in my life if you're not intimate in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Intimacy brings impact. And so I think that's the key. We need player coaches. It's not even about you getting out of the game. One of the things that I've been dealing with is leaders understanding you can change your function without changing your role. We don't want your roles. We don't want your titles. We're not interested. They actually bog us down to low expectations of what people ascribe to that particular role and title. We're not interested in that.
Yeah.
We want to be effective. And so if you'll give us some room, because our generation is still dealing with it. You know, the busters are still dealing with it. Our hands are still tied, so to speak. We've still got some issues to work with the generation ahead of us.
Yeah.
Who don't understand, look, your greatest value is not in you trying to appear to be something that you no longer have the bandwidth for. Your greatest value is making room for somebody else who has what you need and will yet make sure you shine.
That's it.
Well, this is a perfect segue, because Gary and I have already determined what next month's subject is going to be.
Oh,
and you just gave us the absolute, I just alley-ooped you. I really set you up is what happened.
Yeah, she did.
So Gary and I have been talking, and we've determined, and going back through some of you all's conversations, you all have done a phenomenal job of defining what mentorship is, and the power and the importance of having a strong mentor. And what we've determined is it's not enough to be a great mentor. You've got to be a great mentee. And so next month, that's what we'll be talking about, how to be a really great mentee.
This sounds like a setup.
Because
No,
I
think
mean,
it's great.
yeah, it's great. I mean, so many people want mentorship, but I think they want the onus and the responsibility only to be on the mentor.
Right.
But what you're saying is it's not either or, it's together. They're not mutually exclusive. And so if that's the case, it's not enough to have a great mentor. You've got to be a great mentee. And so next month, that's what we'll be talking about, how to be a great mentee.
Yeah, we don't want to give you too much, but really and truthfully, like how we fight this adultism is exactly how you said it, is if you are being mentored and are mentoring, so it's lifting as you climb. You can't just be out here, well, you're leading and that's it, and you have no level of submission, and then you're leading and you're not bringing anyone behind you.
Just so taking a walk.
Yeah.
Right.
What somebody said, I do it, you're with me. Then you do it, and you take somebody else with you, and then you allow them to do it. And you keep that cycle, we call it pay it forward if we encapsulate
That's it.
But that intentionality of once I perfect it, My responsibility is to bring somebody else close to what I do well. Let them see my proficiency. Let them identify what their capacity is. I watch them do it. I give them pointers. And then I say, okay, here's how you pay me back. You pay me back by paying it forward. Bring somebody else around you. And if we do that, I don't want to sound cliched, but the world becomes a better place.
Well, here's how we say it in the hood. You eat, I eat. I eat, you eat. If I got a seat at the table, I'm going to make sure you get pulled up there too. So
And
this has been...
y'all are doing a great job, by the way.
Exactly. Thank you. This is an honor. As always, this is an honor. Gary and I are truly... Gary, I don't want to speak for you. Adultism.
No.
You're an adult. You speak for yourself.
We're all in this together. We're all in this together. You got it.
Well, hey, okay. Tish, now you just went preacher right there. Because remember in the Bible, the Pharisees asked Jesus, who sinned? This man or his parents? And Jesus said, he grown.
He grown.
He can speak to. We got Bible on this thing right in here.
I want to be very sensitive to the subject that we got going on here today.
We're unapologetically who we are. We bring us to the table. All the multifaceted aspects of who we are. We bring it to the table. So no, Jesus said he grown. So.
And can I just throw this in there since we talking about Jesus? Jesus was a young person.
Thank you, sir.
Can we talk about that? See, we missed that. Joshua and Caleb, we didn't even go there.
It's okay.
Y'all all over y'all time today.
That's all right. It's all right.
But that's okay. This was good. That's not okay, but it's okay. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us for The Revolutionary. Will not be televised. It will be streamed. We need some scratch effects. The remix.
So Gary, I need more sound effects. You have
all right. I'll get on that
this week.
I'll get on that.
Give me some sound. So
we're so grateful again to be able to share in this platform with you guys. We don't take it lightly that you have shared this with us. Again, to Dr. Ricky Allmon, to Reverend Stephen Thurston, to Gary Foster, it is an honor and a privilege. And before we go, who's working on what? What do we need to know about you? What's happening in your lives? I'm gonna start with Stephen.
Mirror Moment Movement, StephenJThurston.com. Get plugged in so that you can get fresh content on a monthly basis in the lanes of leadership and relationship. You can do one or the other or both. Get on it today. Sign up.
Gary, what's going on?
You can find me at all things Gaff June. So Gaff June everywhere, gaffjune.com. You can find me there. All social media. Also Gladiator TV, which takes place on Saturdays. So I look forward to seeing you all there later this afternoon. That's what I got going on.
I want to do Ricky last. I see you, sis. Inspirations from Heroic Women Hidden in the Bible. The book is out and available for digital pre-order on digital download, and it will be available for full order, full-blown third week in October. So make sure you get it.
What's your website, Tish? What's your website?
Oh, website, who's that lady, min.com.
And hit their cash apps, please, because we want them to come back the first Saturday of the month. So hit them up. Whatever you can do. It's free will around here. But whatever you just let them know you appreciate them. And I'm just hollering out to Impact Nation. Text Impact Life to 31996 and text Ricky Allmon to 22828. Everything you need, you'll find out there. 31996 will get you notifications, and Ricky Allmon to 22828 will make you a part of Impact Nation so you can receive the Impact newsletter, because it's too much getting ready to go down, and you got to be connected to get it. Don't forget Stephen's show. He didn't talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. It's every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Go to his website, StephenJThurston.com. Subscribe. Give a subscription gift. If you're not going to watch it, I don't need no power pack. Well, somebody else needs some power. So go over and get them some power in their life. Okay? But go to StephenJThurston.com. I'm watching you right now. Go do it right now. Gary, this dude is just brilliant. He's creative. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to get your branding right, you want to get your identity right, You want to look like where you're heading before you get there. That's your dude.
That's scary.
So get with
Wow.
him. He gonna make you look tight and right. And then for the women and those that love him, you got to get I See You, Sis. I promise you. Pre-order,
Yeah.
go on Amazon, get it right now. She's poetic, she's poignant, she's prolific, she's provocative. That is the Reverend Tisha Dixon Williams, who pastors the First Baptist Church of Bridgehampton, New York.
I'm about to hit your Cash App. I like the way you,
Hey,
I like the way you did. I'm about to hit your Cash App. I
So,
like the
hey,
way you
I'm
did that.
Dr. Ricky Allmon. We're taking our show back. That's Reverend Stephen Thurston. Which way I need to point? That way. That's Reverend Stephen Thurston. We're the real host of these shows. We let these two imposters come in once a month and hang out. They're doing an amazing job. Y'all have a happy Labor Day weekend. Listen, don't be out here acting crazy.
Mm.
Stay in. Just go ahead and quarantine. Just get your little grill, get out on your patio, get you some hot dogs and hamburgers, and keep yourself where you need to be. All right? I'm saying it for you because Stephen would say it and may not be good for TV. All right? So I'm just going to say it. And that's it. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll holla.